everybody. It is October the 22nd and we are live for the view from the top. Do I sound excited? I am excited, and the reason is that at the Emma Awards last night, Benevo won the award for the best technology, the most innovative use of technology, and we are buzzing at Benevo. Anyway, more of that later. We have got a great show for you today, and that's another reason I'm so buzzing. We have got backstage. We've got Canon Thulassi from Microsoft, and we've got Sophie Holtham from Corp. How exciting is that? Two amazing companies, and we're going to get into a lot of discussion today. So everybody, you know how it works. Please join in that conversation right in the comments box. Tell us who you are, where you are, what's going on in your world. If you were at the awards last night, congratulations to all the winners. It was lovely seeing everybody. Hope you all had a good time. And of course, there's lots of other events coming up and more on that later. But do join in that conversation right in the comments box. Tell us who you are, where you are. We are live right now on LinkedIn. We are live on YouTube. And of course, we are available as a podcast on Spotify. And a lot of you, of course, do want to get your CPE codes, and we have these CPE codes here. So if you want your GMS or your CRP codes, courtesy of our really good friends at Worldwide ERC, and of course, you've got your fantastic event next week in Salt Lake City, those are the codes there. And then if you want codes from HRCI or from SHRM, again, the codes are there. So that's great. So today we've got a really interesting subject. We're going to be talking with Sophie about how you lead people through transformation. And Sophie is very experienced on that. And we're going to have a really fascinating discussion. I'm sure you're going to like it. And then next week, we've got another great show for you actually lined up. And it's in a way on a bit of a similar theme. We're talking about transforming people and purpose. And next week, we've got Irana Roy from Signify. So another great company. So that's what we've got next week. But of course, what's been happening this week? What's been happening in the last 7 days? Well, why don't we have a look at our breaking news? What's been going on in the wonderful world of global mobility in the last 7 days? So there we have it. Lots of exciting news. Lots of people have got new jobs. Lots of people have been promoted. There's loads of job opportunities out there. I know quite a few people at the moment are looking, but there's loads of jobs out there. If there's a job that you think is relevant, then please do apply for it. We can do anything to help the community. We will. That's what we're here for. Happy Diwali. I suspect we've got both Canon and Pankaj who are going to be on the show later from India. So maybe we'll even be hearing some fireworks, but I know that certainly loads of fireworks going on all over the world as people are celebrating Diwali this week. Did I mention that we won the Emma for most innovative use of technology? I'm not sure, but anyway, congratulations to everybody at Benevo, and also a highly commended for the best partnership with our client LSEG and indeed Wycott and Newland Chase. So congratulations to that. Congratulations to all the other winners. We're now going to move on. Oh, and congratulations to my good friend Jay Sternberg, who's got a book out there, 3 Things, Real Moments, Honest Coaching, Practical Leadership. Jay Sternberg, a legend of our industry. It's out there. I think you can get it on Amazon. So if you're interested in coaching, practical leadership, do have a read of Jay's book. Anyway, we're now going to move on to talk about immigration. We always like to have a little session about immigration Julia cannot be with us this week, but I'm super excited. We've got Karsten Usberg with us from the Netherlands. So everybody, you know how it works. Hit the heart button, hit the like button, hit the applause button, and let's welcome for the very first time to our stage, Fragment's Karsten Usberg. Hey, Karsten, how are you doing?
Hi, Brian. Thank you very much for the introduction and congratulations on the prizes last night.
Thank you so much. And tell me, whereabouts are you in the world today, Karsten?
I am in Sweden today.
Oh, you're in Sweden, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know why I said the Netherlands.
No, it's I'm from Denmark, and Denmark and Netherlands have a lot of common things. So maybe that's why.
I'm not at all embarrassed. I'm not at all embarrassed about this photo. The preparation is always the secret, I think, and now I'm showing a distinct lack of it. Anyway, so Karsten, it's great to have you on the show. As I dig myself further into the hole, please tell us about what you're going to be talking about today.
Yes, well, I'll give you an update on some of the short-term travel updates we've seen in the both this last week, but also in the year. It keeps trending regarding a few different things. So we're seeing more and more countries introducing the electronic travel authorization, also known as ETA. Yeah. You've seen quite a few countries, and I hate to mention the P word, but the pandemic, because we are so far from it now. Yeah. But a lot of countries introduced it after the pandemic, and it's becoming more and more common. So lately, it's been Somalia and South Africa. So it's something to consider, but also consider the purpose of the trip and whether the ETA is the right thing for your trip, or you need actually a good old sticker visa. We also see another trend that has been coming up in the last, I would say, maybe 3-4 months, and again, more lately. So the electronic arrival card. So we all remember the small arrival cards you get on the plane, filling out. Those are now also becoming digital, maybe not a surprise. And it's sort of the same information as always, like do you bring any meat, fruit, vegetables, etc. Those of us who've been watching the Australian border guard would know that it's very important to fill those out correctly, so you don't get into any trouble. Good news for the travelers going to China. China keeps expanding the visa-free regime. The last country added to the almost 50 countries now on the list is Sweden, actually. And there's no date from when it's going live yet, but it's keep expanding. Right now, the China visa-free regime is, depending on the country in question, it's either until the end of the year or it's until mid next year. And I would expect personally that more countries are being added as we see in the coming months. And then Brazil has expanded the number of activities you can do within your visitor status. So instead of having to apply for a short-term work visa for some of the technical work, you can actually go as a normal visitor, which is a good news for those going to Brazil for work. And then finally, and it's not so much news, but the the European entry-exit system is obviously in place since the 12th of October. There is little news about it. In a few places, there have been a few queues, which probably is expected when a new tech system is rolled out.
They're rolling it out pretty slowly, aren't they? Deliberately, yeah.
I think it's deliberately, yeah, just to see how it works. I've seen a few articles on queues, but nothing major. And it's 6 months from 12th of October. It's rolling out gradually, so it will eventually be there. And obviously, it's followed by the ETIAS, the electronic travel authorization for Europe, but that is not expected until end of next year, and that's been delayed already multiple times. So let's see about that.
Okay. So thank you so much, Karsten. A lot going on there. Thanks for being such a good sport. Thanks for being on our show, and it's great to have you. We're now going to move on. We've got our change maker this week is Canan Thalasi from Microsoft. So as we say goodbye to Karsten and we welcome Canan to our stage, please, everybody, you know how it works. Hit the heart button, hit the like button, and hit the applause button. Hey, Canon, how are you?
Hey Brian, I'm doing very good. Thank you for having me and congratulations to the Benevol team for the award.
Thank you, thank you. And well, first of all, happy Diwali. Hopefully you're celebrating, and I don't know whether we'll hear any fireworks in the background, but it's anyway, happy Diwali. So tell me, Canon.
Thank you.
Everybody knows Microsoft, so I'm not going to ask you to tell me about Microsoft, but tell me about Canon. Tell me about yourself and your role. Tell me a bit about yourself.
Sure, Brian. Like I have been in the global mobility space for almost 17 years, with Microsoft for close to 10 years, and with the global mobility team with Microsoft global mobility team for 6 years. I primarily take care of India domestic relocations, which is a considerable volume, and also take care of people coming into India on a permanent basis, and people going out of India on assignments for a particular business group, and this particular business group accounts to almost like 75% of our overall assignee population.
Okay. So that's that. Now you got a passion for technology, I believe, and that's why I think you like being one of our change makers. But tell us about being a change maker and what you get out of, what it means to you.
Absolutely, Brian. Like, it really means a lot to me. Like, it's like carrying this identity where you don't need to, like go through the challenge on your own, where you have a fantastic set of colleagues, like who you can rely on their knowledge and their experience and their guidance. And also, like, it's not about one company. It's about making sure both employer and employees and people and their families who are traveling are all compliant, right? And also making their experience better, not only in terms of relocation using technology to make every aspect of that relocation successful. So that really makes me feel proud to be part of this change maker community.
Yeah, well, it's great. And if other people out there would like to be change makers, we're always looking for others to join the community. It's a great networking community for in-house global mobility professionals. And one of our ways, I mean, the benefit to us to be, completely transparent about it is we get to talk to, people from companies who give us their thoughts when we're launching a new aspect of our technology, and we can get to, to hear what people think. But our way of saying thank you is that we make a donation to a charity of their choice. Now, tell us about your chosen charity, because it sounds very, very interesting.
Absolutely, Brian. Like I support the charity called Niral. It means shade in the local language. They primarily focus on protecting indigenous trees in the urban areas. And this September they have been doing this great initiative for almost 20 years now. With this September, and they kind of indulge. They partner with schools and colleges to plant these indigenous trees in the open spaces, and also they partner with governments to plant trees around the water bodies and so on. They have water tourism, and they do a lot of things relating to these indigenous trees. And thanks to Benio for the donation to this charity.
I absolutely love that. In a way, trees are the complete opposite of mobility. I mean, they are the definition of stability, aren't they? Generations and never ever move. So it's nice to find that we can go all the way from mobility to anti-mobility, if you want to call it that. Trees got roots in the ground. I mean, that's so good. So we're now going to move on and so much. And I've got backstage another person celebrating Diwali. I've got Pankaj Bhatia from Benevo, who's going to be giving a brief update about what's been going on. So everybody, you know how it works. As we say farewell to Canon and thank him for the work he does and the charity he supports. And welcome to our stage, Pankaj Bhatia. Please, everybody, hit the heart button, hit the like button, and hit the applause button. But before we do, I'm just going to tell you all about the top 100 list too. So watch this video. Pankaj, my friend, how are you?
I'm good, Brian. I'm good. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, so well, let's start with the top 100 because we played that video. Tell us about the top 100 AI champions.
Right. So I think that's a very, very key initiative around innovation, right? So I think very clearly over the last few months, there's been a lot of discussions around AI, etc. So sticking with that innovation, this is something that Benevo has kind of launched, which is the top 100 AI champion in global mobility.
The fireworks there.
You did? Yeah, so that's officially open, the top 100 AI registration. So it's a fantastic initiative to recognize the leaders pioneering the use of AI, artificial intelligence in our field. So if you or someone you know is driving the change with AI, please ensure that they get nominated. The deadline is coming up pretty soon, so that's like the November 5th. So I think Tally's just posted the details around the registration link as well. So would highly recommend you take advantage of this.
Okay, and what else?
A couple of other. Yep. So like you mentioned, Brian, I don't know if you mentioned this, but yes, the fantastic news around Benevo winning the Emma Award, and this was for the most.
You know what? I forgot to mention that. I think.
I thought you did, and that's the reason I'm bringing it up. So, yeah. So we won the Emma Award for the most innovative technology in global mobility, and this is for the work Benevo has been doing in the mobility intelligence. The MI is what we call it, right? And it's a huge validation of our commitment to pushing the boundaries of what mobility tech can achieve. So congratulations to the whole team. And I know, Brian, you were at the event yesterday as well, receiving the award. So I'm sure you can share a little bit more details soon as well. And I think a final kind of update from my side is around, looking forward to being part of the WARC Global Workforce Symposium. So Tally is sharing the program details now. So this includes the session where the folks can catch our team as well. But I specifically want to highlight an exclusive event. So we are hosting the WARC Corporate Breakfast, and we'd love for all of our corporate clients and friends to sign up and join us for the same. I think it's an incredible opportunity to network and get an early start, with the high value content. And on that, again, we have a fantastic guest speaker. So I know we, of course, have Kanan on the call from Microsoft, but we've got Juan Carlos from Microsoft who will be sharing high-level insights on the future of work and technology. So really great opportunity for folks who are able to attend that.
Okay, so thank you so much for that update. So there's Worldwide ERC next week, which is going to be amazing. I'm sure it always is. Lots of news there. And I know we've blown our own trumpet a little bit on the technology. I just want to congratulate everybody else, because there were, I think lots of different categories of winners as well. And to everybody who picked up an award for their mobility policies or whatever the other award categories were. Congratulations to everybody. And indeed, congratulations to everybody who was just there. It was a fun evening. So we're now going to move on, and I'm super excited. We've got backstage Sophie Holtham from News Corp, a company that probably needs no introduction, and we're going to have a really good debate about transformation in the people and the people aspects of transformation, getting into mobility as well. So everybody, I'm sure I've mentioned this before, but you know how it works. Hit the heart button, hit the like button, hit the congrats button, and let's welcome to our stage News Corp's Sophie Holtham. Sophie, welcome to the View from the Top.
Thanks, Brian. Great to be here, and congratulations as well.
Oh, and indeed, congratulations to you, Sophie.
Oh, don't remind me.
It's her birthday, everybody. Hit the heart button, hit the like button, hit the applause button. Let's say happy birthday to Sophie.
Well, thank you.
Anyway,
I wouldn't want to be anywhere else on my birthday. What can I say?
Absolutely, you know how to party. So, Sophie, let's just sort of get back to business. I mean, everybody knows News Corp, but maybe they don't know it. Tell us a bit about all the different brands. So, just give us the 1 minute overview as to what News Corp is and does, and its very breadth. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, of course. So, News Corp started as, with newspapers back in the day, sort of, 60, 70 years ago. But since then, it's grown. So beyond our, the publications that people will know, be it the Times, the Sunday Times, the Sun, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Post, the Australian and various other newspapers in Australia, from our roots, to really encapsulate both book publishing, so HarperCollins, as well as real estate. If you're in the US, you might know Move. If you're in Australia, realestate.com, which are kind of gateways for people to find, buy and sell and rent homes. So, and then we've got a broad breadth of other kind of investor publications and the like. So we've got over close to 23,000 people all around the world.
Wow. And it's run, I think you were saying to me, it's run as almost like a federation of individual
absolutely. Yeah. So really it's, the kind of the beauty in it, I think, is that we really, we really ask our businesses to sort of run themselves. So they each have their own strategy, they each have their own teams, they each have their own HR teams, and indeed each have their own mobility teams. So they're really run as individual businesses, with the center acting as a sort of umbrella to look for those opportunities where we can leverage the scale and the breadth of the whole organization. But as much as possible, they're run as independent companies.
Right, I've got it. So as you said, it's like a federation. Amazing brands. But tell us about your role, Sophie. So what's your role at News Corp?
So I sit in the sort of central team, if you like, currently based out of London, because we've got people around the world, and I look after what we call strategic programs from the HR perspective. Anything from supporting transformations to culture to looking at AI in HR, and also global talent mobility. So really looking at global mobility between our different business units, letting the businesses, as I say, run mobility within their own functions, but really looking at the opportunities across. So we've brought that up to become a strategic program, because we do see how important and what an opportunity mobility is, both from a business perspective, as well as obviously from like the individual's career perspective as well.
So if the sake of argument, if the Times sent somebody from London to New York, that would be dealt with by the unit. But if they're trying to transfer somebody from the Times to the Australian,
exactly
that
right.
would be something that you would be. I've got it. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, and tell us a bit about yourself, because you're fairly well travelled. I mean, I know you say you were born. No, you weren't born in the UK. Tell us a bit about.
I was born in the UK, but I moved to France when I was 2 weeks old. So,
Oh right,
wow. Je ne sais pas. I don't know. But, yeah, no. So I think that's one of the reasons why I think mobility is such an amazing opportunity. Again, both for business, but also just from an individual's like career perspectives, being able to experience different cultures. I grew up in France, in the US, and as well as in the UK. Moved to Australia 20-something years ago, and have lived kind of many other locations around the world. And so, yeah, firsthand have experienced mobility. Anything from like a child up to an adult in different perspectives and different situations, and have always been involved in. From an early age, I always felt that education and kind of communication was so important to kind of deliver on people's potential, which is why I got involved in media, why I got involved in change and transformation, because I just think, if you provide people with the opportunities, they often deliver on them. So provide the conditions and they will prosper, which I think transformation and change are all about.
Okay, so I mean, I know you've got mobility within your purview. People get into this sort of area from different ways. They can be sort of immigration professionals or tax professionals or HR professionals, but you've got into this through communications, which is
culture. Yeah, really it's
an unusual way of getting into the industry. But tell us, what does that add? I mean, that must give you a very different perspective.
Yeah, I think it. Look, and not to detract from the criticality of all of the pieces. In fact, I lean on my colleagues in those spaces all the time. I think what I bring to it is really kind of thinking about it from the human perspective and from the employee perspective, and knowing or how to tell a story of what mobility is about, why it's critical, always keeping kind of the business value and the business lens to it, as well as kind of the intricacies and the complexities of moving an individual from any one location to another. So I think having that sort of HR culture aspect also allows the focus to be on how do we build a culture of mobility, so people actually put their hand up for the opportunity and are supported by their leaders to do so, rather than what you can see, which is kind of people holding on to their people because they worry about the implications of losing often their best talent. So I think that just brings that other kind of perspective to the equation.
Yeah, so you try and create that culture where you encourage people. You encourage people to put themselves forward, or you encourage the business unit to put people forward?
A bit of both, right? I mean, obviously you can't have one without the other. And we start from what is the business need? So, what are those critical roles that we need to fill? And then we look around the organization and go, well, where are the right people who would fit that role? So we do look at it from that perspective. Obviously, we want to build opportunities for everyone, but we really focus in on the critical roles that the business needs, and what is the right talent to go into those roles. But without a culture and like an underpinning of this is something that an organization supports, you may not attract people who are interested in moving. Not everyone is, and then neither will you kind of create the expectation amongst leaders that actually this is something that we do and that we and that is again can help them in their businesses.
Yeah, I mean, a culture is such a hard thing, isn't it? The companies have got their culture, and they're quite hard to sort of, it's something it when you see it, but you can't sort of describe it sometimes.
Hard to put your finger on, exactly. I mean, no, I think I'm very fortunate to work in an organization that always has had mobility, from sort of starting, like growing from an Australian company to a global company. Yeah. So many of our top executives, editors have grown and moved around the organization that, when people look up, they see real live examples of mobility. And so it's not something we just talk about. It's something that, to your point, you can see around you and above you, which really can kind of brings it to life and makes it authentic to who we are as an organization.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose journalism, almost in its very nature, is all about mobility. Yeah. You always try to get people on in the right location. And
exactly.
We have been discussed this earlier, but I suppose quite often you're sending people as an organization the opposite way as everybody else. Everybody else is trying to get out of the country as you're trying to send people in.
Yeah, and to be honest, are people like they'll run towards a story, and it's honestly quite incredible the positions they'll put themselves in to run towards those stories.
Yeah, and immense bravery as well. But let's just move on. I mean, you have led major transformation initiatives across industries. What are the common threads that you've seen when it comes to leading people through change?
Look, I think there's some kind of basic requirements of any change to make it successful. I think having a really strong vision where you want to get to is core. You don't need to know how you're going to get there. In fact, I think I'd be worried if someone said, "Yeah, no, I know exactly how we're going to get somewhere." But you need to know the why, the purpose of and the reason behind what you're doing, and then aligning your leaders behind that. So I think to me that's the starting point. Without that, that's the common thing that makes these changes successful.
That's such a great point, because so often we concentrate on the how and we don't really focus on the why.
Yeah, at the end of the day, if I need to turn to a team and say, right, we're going to fundamentally change how you work or what you do, the first question they're going to ask me is not how, they're going to say why, right? And so if you've got kids, the why question, you get it a lot. So it's similar. It's you have to be able to answer the why, and you have to be doing it in a way that's back to storytelling, is genuine, is meaningful to you, the person telling it, but also is meaningful to the people that you're speaking to. So to me, that's the fundamental. And then aligning behind that, right? So people can buy into that, and then bring in people to actually determine the how. So I like to go to a team and say, right, well, let's work on the how together. Because if I tell them the how, then I'm forcing it on them, right? It's kind of change 101 really, but you want to make people feel, or you not want to make them feel, you want to make them own the change themselves and feel accountable for its success, whatever the change is.
Okay, that's so important, isn't it? So you don't tell people the answer, you actually help them.
No, because to be honest, you may not have the answer, and they will have part of the answer. And it's kind of at your peril if you ignore that. If they're telling you something isn't going to work, they probably know. So it's worth listening to that.
Reminds me of the old joke, is how many consultants do you need to change a light bulb? The answer is, it doesn't matter. The light bulb's got to want to change.
As a consultant, I can verify.
But here's a question. So we did a poll, and we asked this question: what is the single most critical factor for leading a successful transformation project? And we gave people 4 choices during the week on when we ran this out. We said having a clear purpose and vision, having strong communication skills, and I appreciate your background, a lot of your background is communication, executive alignment, and having an agile and flexible mindset. And the obvious answer is they're all important, but that's cheating.
Stole my line, yeah.
Yeah, that's cheating. I'm going to force you to pick which is the single most critical factor.
Look, I think the one I always gravitate to is that first one, that clear purpose and vision. But what I would say is, because again, that's the why, and then to use that to get alignment. Because if not, what are your, you can align your leaders, but what are you aligning them around if it's not the why? Yeah, to your point, it could be the how, but that will come unstuck. So to me, it's like it's that first one coupled with that executive alignment, and then obviously using comms, communication skills to then share that purpose and vision in a way that's meaningful and authentic. I would add though that last one increasingly is becoming important. Particularly in this, and I'm sure we'll touch on AI, but in this world of increasing AI and increasing uncertainty, both technology, economic, social, you need to be able to flex and to shift. And as I said, you're not going to know the answer. So if you aren't willing to be agile and to be responsive, you're not going to get very far. So I'd probably I'd prioritize all of those, but then with agile kind of starting to creep up much more than people may have thought in the past.
Okay. We did actually ask the people on LinkedIn, and this is what they said. I mean, I think they agreed with you that the biggest one was 48% said the clear purpose and vision. I think compared to you, they probably underestimated the importance of agility. Again, I was being horrid to everybody because I was saying to people, you only pick one, which is very unfair. But obviously it's all of them. Let's move on a little bit, because I do want to learn a bit more about mobility at News Corp. And the question I've got is, How do you define its role within your broader HR and talent strategy? What's the role of mobility?
Well, look, the role of mobility is fundamentally putting people in the right roles to deliver on the business strategy. Everything we do in HR is about how do we help deliver that business strategy, be it a specific business or News Corp more generally. And core to that is being able to identify our talent and the talent with the right skills, and putting them into the areas and into the roles where they can have most valuable impact. So, and the ability to go, well, actually, borders or business unit borders don't restrict us. Actually, we have this much bigger talent pool to pull from. So therefore, it's core really to that talent strategy, particularly as skills changing and shifting quite quickly and quite rapidly. Sure, you can go out to market and try and find them, but if you've got them already and they understand your business, to your point, they understand the culture and they know how to get things done, then especially in media where things move so rapidly, you need to be able to to respond very, very fast. And so that's why our internal talent pool is so significant and so important to us.
I suppose one of the issues, again, you must be facing is you need to move people sometimes very, very swiftly.
Yeah.
But then you're going to come up against, immigration rules and tax rules and people's own personal circumstances. Cultural and technical issues. Yeah.
And it's a challenge. Like I know in media when absolutely, our hiring managers or our leaders will want someone, can we have someone on the ground in 2 weeks? Sure. But you can't have them in 2 weeks, with a visa, with the correct tax, having moved potentially them and or their families and on the ground, and being able to give 100% to their job. It's just impossible. And so managing, which is a great positive, which is the appetite for mobility, with sometimes just the fundamental reality is that it's going to take a couple of months, right? It's as much as we can speed it up, there's things outside of our control that we have to manage that. So luckily there are things like reporter visas that we can tap into for the US when we move people to the US, but those are currently being discussed so that they might change. So we're always having to think about how do we work within moving situations.
Okay. And I mean, relocation, we talk about living the relocation dream, but sometimes it's living the relocation nightmare. Relocation can be stressful, without wanting to sound unduly negative. But how does your team think about it in terms of the human side of mobility? Whether it's physical, mental, financial well-being. How do you deal with the human side of moving somebody?
I would say absolutely any move is stressful. I mean, I've done it myself, and even it's still a change, right? And change is it's cliche, but change can be difficult. And we really consider that. So we really want to kind of wrap our arms around the person, from kind of the initial conversations about what a move may look like, through to the logistics of it, through to the actual move themselves, and even like once they land, how do we continue to support them? And we usually do that with as much in-house people and people who've been through the experience themselves to be part of that. So, our HR team, be it HR operations, be it our compensation team, be it our benefits team, as well as our global mobility team, all play a role in that, kind of taking that person through and considering all their unique circumstances, because every single person has unique circumstances, and also different change appetite, history of having moved, all of that we take into consideration. And a number of our teams at work, a number of HR folk have been through moves themselves, so they can give that kind of, here's first-hand experience, here's what they don't tell you, think about this, do this, make sure you do this, go to this bank, don't use this bank, and all those types of things that only through first-hand experience do you really understand. So we really put the person kind of at the center of the move, while still trying to obviously create a seamless experience for everyone involved, but that person is right there kind of front and center the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, I always feel that people who are moving really have only ever got one question, which is, what do people like me do? Because in most cases, it may be their first move, but it's not the first move that the company has organized from country A to country B, probably even at that level. And what they want to know is, someone like me, which is the best bank account to open? Yeah. Which is the best neighborhood in town to live in? Do I need a car? What are the best schools?
Yeah.
And so much that I know with our technology now, we can actually have user reviews, so you can see what other assignees have done. A bit like if you're buying something on Amazon or something, the first thing you do is read the user reviews, and that is where I think technology can really help the experience. But you've been through this yourself. In fact, you're on assignment at the moment, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah. So because your home is. I know you said you were born in Britain and you moved to France for 2 weeks and you were educated there, but you've been living in Australia and then you've come back to Britain.
Yeah, so I've been fortunate to come. I've come back to the UK for a year, just to kind of to a few things, but really to kind of to lead this global role. And I'm moving from a country I know well to a country I know very well, or less so well. I have not been here for a while, but know pretty well, and kind of have my feet. And I still, for those of you who are British, I know the tube map like the back of my hand, even though I haven't been here, because you just do. But again, it's always a great reminder of all the hoops and the jumps you have to go through for any move. And I completely agree. I think technology is a great opportunity for us to think, how do you continue to personalize? Because it's great if you can wrap your arms around every single person, but once these things start to scale, that becomes more and more challenging. And I think technology is the opportunity to continue to have that personalization, and a kind of so that every person is, even though they may not be unique, they're unique to themselves. So you kind of want to deliver that personalized service. And I think technology is the opportunity to do that at scale.
Yeah. What sort of culture shock do you get when you're moving to a country
how much or how little things have changed in the however many years you may have been away, and then it's small things like when you go up the escalator and you're standing on the wrong side and you can't remember which side you should stand on. So it's all the kind of the day-to-day habits. In the US, how much do you tip? Do you tip in Australia? It's and again, it's to your point, it's those things that people often want to know. I got a text from one of our recent kind of mobility moves, and she texted me from she was at a pedicurist in New York. She's like, do I tip? And I was like, these are things you just don't know, and no guidebooks necessarily. Well, no formal company corporate handbook is going to tell you these things necessarily. Although ours does actually now. But I think it's those kinds of things that people you just don't know until you're in it.
You're right. I mean, that's where technology comes into its own, especially with all the the generative AI,
exactly.
The LLMs and that sort of stuff. That information is there, and that's only going to get better and better as we get this mass uniqueness of personalization of advice.
Exactly.
So tell me, you were talking earlier, and you mentioned that one thing you enjoy is taking on a big, tough, ambiguous problem in from a work perspective, I hasten to add. So what's one example? Give me an example of a transformation challenge that you've taken on that sort of required you to completely flip your thinking and look at things differently.
Look, I mean, it's a bit cheesy to say AI, but I think it's the one that comes to mind at the moment, which is, what is the opportunity with AI? What are the risks with AI? How do we go after it? I'm sure everyone on this call is getting, endless emails saying, use this product, use this product, use this product. And it's like, and I always say, don't look at the product, look at the problem, as any good consultant would tell you, and then understand what you need to go after. What I find fascinating about AI is that I think people are more, people's point of view 6 months ago to 3 months ago to today is changing. Never mind, the technology is changing. And so developing a change or a transformation roadmap when all the aspects of it are in flux, you really need to think differently about what's your time frame that you're thinking about, what's the amount of change that your people are actually willing to take, because I think that's changing dramatically, and then what's the technology opportunity that's there. So what do you ground yourself in when so much of that is changing all the time? Even company risk profiles, what they were a year ago to what they are today, are changing. So, and yet at the same time, what's hype, what's real, what's concerning from a cyber, from a privacy, from a security perspective, and then how do you harness all the enthusiasm that people have with also concern and fear about what it might mean? So I mean, it probably comes back down to you need a really strong vision, but even your vision might change. But at least your ambition should be there. But I think it's an interesting one because no one's done it. People might have started it, but even if you've done it,
So
you haven't
can
done
I
it because it's
ask
still
you,
changing.
Yeah, can I ask you? I'm not asking you to breach anything sort of confidential, but what is your attitude at the moment to AI? I mean, how much is it being embraced within the HR function at News Corp?
Look, we are, I think, at a stage where we are looking at different tools. We obviously are using, we have an HRIS system, which we're looking at what are the AI capabilities within that, so that we can kind of, start to kind of embed it into our workflows. Our people are assigned to use it, so we're really encouraging them to try it out, right? Because often, even just those incremental uses of in-house AI tools are really beneficial, and then we're just really getting a sense of where could it offer us biggest bang for buck in terms of helping our people really elevate their roles to increase, again, back to the business value that they deliver, rather than getting stuck in some more of the admin tasks that you could automate or do differently. So how do we use it to increase our impact as a function?
I always feel it's a bit like having a superpower. That, all of a sudden, I can just do these things that I couldn't do what I do, but not that quickly before.
Exactly. And I think also that, the way I use it often is to challenge my thinking. So, I'll ask it, how would you do this? How would you do that? And then I would go, okay. And then I ask it a few prompts, but then I always ask it, well, why is this? Why would you critique this? Why would this not be good enough? What's wrong with this? And I think that's really useful, so that it starts to kind of, it challenges itself and yourself about kind of your expectations or your preferences. And so I use it as a coach as much as my kind of my work buddy as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. One of the things we're looking with our top 100 AI champions is we're looking for good prompts that people are using that they can share with the industry. So one of your prompts, you touched on it there, but maybe just say a bit more about what your prompt.
Yeah, it would be something along the lines of, why would this fail? Or why would my CEO or my CHRO not like this idea? Or, what would make it better? Or I don't, and really kind of playing, kind of black hatting it, basically.
Yes, so it's being a critical critical best friend, not
exactly.
Not a best friend saying, "Oh yeah, it'll be fine." It's saying,
I know. I mean, I must say the continuous, "Oh, well done, great idea." I'm like, this is not a great idea. Tell me why it's not a great idea. So because you just don't want to be. It's easy to kind of get caught up in oh, this is awesome, this is amazing. But actually, we'll just take a minute and challenge yourself and it as to make it better.
I think that's great, because certainly I found with AI, one of the things I find slightly saccharine about it is sometimes it always says, "Oh, great question, Brian." It never actually says "stupid question."
No, exactly.
Sometimes it's too nice, but that's very. I love that you ask it to actually critique yourself and tell you what could be going wrong with what you're doing. That's a great one. I'm certainly going to put that in my locker as an idea, as a prompt. Let's move on a bit then. I mean, you specialize in driving change. What advice would you give to other HR mobility leaders who maybe haven't got your level of experience, but who are trying to drive change, especially in a complex, decentralized organization like yours?
I mean, I think the first thing is get leader buy-in. Like we've talked about it before, but have a really clear business case as to why mobility is important. Because sometimes people might think, oh, it's a nice thing to do. Oh yeah, we'll drive people's careers and give them opportunities. But it's like, actually, what is the business impact of what you're doing? How are you going to impact? What's your corporate strategy, and how can mobility help deliver on that strategy? Because I think you're then having a strategic business conversation, which elevates the role of mobility and elevates the opportunities that mobility can provide to a wider audience. So I would always start with that. I think then, especially when it's in a more federated model, don't assume that what works for one will work for another. We always talk about personalization. Do that at the business unit level. So again, what's the driver for different aspects of your company, and that will make them support mobility. So for CFO to a CHRO to a CTO, they'll all look for different things. So what is the message to each of those? and really understand what is driving them, so then you can communicate the benefits to them, and that allows you then to be more tailored in what you suggest and what you recommend and how you go about doing it. And so as much as possible, co-design what makes sense for them. I think we're always very clear that, the way we look at mobility, there are some aspects that are common and kind of consistent, and then some areas where there's flexibility. And so, for example, in terms of the benefits we provide for our people, we have a set of core benefits that we would expect and offer to all employees, irrespective of the duration of their move, where they're moving to and from, everything from sort of, accommodation or flights or relocation, etc. And then we have what we call flex benefits. And again,
so you're running a core flex type program.
Exactly. So flex allows the business units to go, well, depending on, the role, the budget for that role, etc., they can kind of scale up or down. And so we've been very clear about where we want consistency and where we don't expect consistency. So knowing when to kind of push in and when to step back, it's almost like that. So you understand the ebbs and flows of the businesses to know when to play that role. When are you the advisor? When are you more of a police? I'd say rarely, to be honest with you. But when do you kind of compromise, maybe in the short term, because long term you're going to achieve kind of the outcome that you're looking for. I think. And
is the flex element use it or lose it, or do you let people cash out?
Use it or lose it, generally speaking. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's interesting. I mean, these are all such debates, and I think these debates have been around, but it's interesting to see how different companies do it. We talked about this before, but I want to come back to it because you've got an interesting way into our industry. You've come from, journalism, from media. I mean, how does that shape your approach to, if you like, storytelling? And I think to get the vision to change, that communication, it's all about telling a story. So how do you bring those skills into?
It's all about telling a story. I mean, it's a story that you fundamentally believe in. So, and I think what's great about working somewhere like News Corp is that we've got people who are inherently know how to do that. So that can make the job a lot easier. But I do think that the ability to explain in a way that is makes sense and is empathetic to the audience, and also I'd say not just storytelling, but also story listening, right? Listening to their feedback, listening to what they have to say, is so core to understanding what's driving them, understanding what matters to them, understanding what doesn't matter to them, to then really be able to craft a tale and an experience that is going to be impactful and relevant to them. So to me, it's that crafting of the story, which also tells the story from end to end. So again, here's where we're going. That builds confidence. People understand. They don't need to know every single step of the story as yet. But when you pick up a book, you kind of want to know what the story is about. You don't even know everything, but that's what pulls you in to buy the book or to read the book. Same kind of idea, I think, when it comes to change.
When we were prepping the other day, you made a really interesting comment. We were talking about the power of moving, and you said it's like being a new employee all over again. Tell us a bit about that concept of being a new employee.
Well, it's funny because I think people, again, I'd say there's a difference between people who have moved and people who haven't moved in understanding what it's like when you land in a new business unit, a new part of the organization. People expect that you're just going to know how everything works. Because of our federated model, we have different tech stacks, we have different email systems, and yet people can assume that, because you were over there, you'll come here and you'll know how everything works. You don't know how everything works. But unlike when you're a new employee, people kind of expect that, know that, teach you. Sometimes you come in as a not new, entirely new person, and people forget that you haven't been in exactly the same world and just expect to kind of hit the ground running. Our job in global mobility is to make sure that's possible as much as you can. But we also appreciate that you need time to not only learn the job, but to learn the location. How long does it take me to travel into the office? I need to find accommodation while I'm in this new job. So you're a new employee in a new location. And I think that can get forgotten about because you're kind of one of us, right? Well, you are, you absolutely are. But there are some gaps in your knowledge, inevitably, that need to be filled.
Okay. And we're getting towards the end of our hour, but there's one other area I want to get into before we wrap up, which is your vision for the future. Where do you think, what's the future of HR transformation, and specifically about global talent mobility? What do you see the future?
That's a big question. I would say increasingly HR is a strategic partner to the business. In many cases it already is, and not taking away from that. But, with the amount of workforce transformation that's coming, that is already here, the role of HR is just increased dramatically because of AI. If as I'm reading somewhere, if it's not AI to lead a change, it's all about humans and workforce and culture, who would? So I think there's a significant opportunity for HR to play that role and to really be a business partner. And so I think for them, from a mobility perspective, and what's the role of mobility, again, in this increasingly disrupted world, moving world, how does mobility play a role in that? So I think it's only upside. I think the future is really positive, and there's a great opportunity for everybody in HR to really play like an elevated role into the business.
Yeah, because the one comment I've heard consistently for more years than I care to mention is that we need a seat at the table. People say that all the time, but it sounds to me like you've got that seat at the table. And if you're trying to encourage others in their own careers to get that seat at the table, what should they be doing?
Understand the business. Really start to understand the drivers of your business, what makes it successful, what are its concerns, what is its strategy, what are its priorities, and then how, in your expertise, with your background, with your knowledge, with your skill set, how can you play a role in delivering on that strategy? Because I think that then gets you this, because the seat at the table is that, right? It's to be able to have an influence on where the organization is going. You need to understand where the organization is going to start having those conversations.
Okay. Sophie, I'm going to leave it sort of at that because it's such a great way to end. And I want us to just bring onto stage, we've got Canan from Microsoft who's on earlier, and indeed our producer, Tally. And I want to say a really big thank you to Canan for giving us that, that insight into what you're doing, and also for the amazing charity work that you're doing, and just hats off to that. And also a big thanks. I know it's very late for you now, so thank you also for sticking with us, into the evening during this, obviously this lovely time of Diwali. Sophie, thank you so much for giving up your time. I know how busy you are.
Thank you.
Especially on this big day. We really appreciate that. Hopefully our audience have shown you some happy birthday love. We are back next week, and we've got Irani Srivastava Roy from Signify to be talking about transforming people and purpose, which is an amazing subject. So we're back again next week. And also, as Tally's pointed out there, your top 100 AI champions list. If you know anybody who's got a passion for...
We already have two.
Exactly.
I'm sure they're on the list already.
Nominate. The more people, the better. We want to see we got loads of nominations. We want more and more and more. And we will be revealing the final list on December the 3rd. Is it, Tally? I can't remember. But early December, we reveal the finalists, but nominations close
on November 5th. Yeah.
So you've only got a couple of weeks to make your nominations, and then all the hard works backstage as we go through the lists and we add up the votes and we work out who's made the final list. Anyway, we are now out of time, everybody. Have a great week, and we will see you all again this time next week. Take care and have a great week. Bye.